Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Adventures Audio Podcast. I'm your host, Janelle Orsino, aka Enthusiast Adventurer, and this week we have the most special guest, the one and only Bobby Roastbeef from the Jigs and Bigs podcast. We are not only a huge fan of him and what he does over on his show, but we are also good friends with the man. He is an incredible guy. He's got a lot of great things happening, so you guys need to definitely go over and check him out. Give him a follow, give him a subscribe. Become a jig head, become a member. He's got some really awesome tournaments happening this year and some really great sponsors. So go ahead and check him out. But for now, we're going to be talking to him all about life, the outdoors, his hobbies, his family, food, music, how he grew up. We really get into it in this week's episode. And actually, we've got two parts to this episode because our conversation went so well. So thank you, Bobby, for being a guest. And for now, let's get into it. Now we're just gonna jump right into it. So, Bobby, introduce yourself and tell everyone a little bit about you for those who don't know about you already. I know that you're not used to the podcast format, so just don't feel stressed, don't feel pressure. We're just talking, okay?
Hi, I'm Bobby, and I'm an alcoholic.
No, I'm Bobby Roastbeef, everybody, from the podcast Jigs and Bigs. I like to fish. I like to talk, and I like to eat. And I'm a cannabis enthusiast as well. So let's kind of cover all the bases. But really, truly, I love to fish, and that's why I'm on Janelle's show here to talk fishing and to talk about some cool stuff coming up in 2024 that I think everybody should get involved with. 100%.
Heck yeah. I'm a supporter, huge supporter. Big fan. It. Yeah. All right. So we're going to do a little bit of a background. Like, where are you from? Give me a little bit. Because I know you briefly, but I don't really know you. So I've got questions for you that range today.
I love
that.
I love that.
Good. All right. Sweet.
So I grew up in Western Massachusetts. I'm a Western Massachusetts native. I've lived here my entire life. I've lived all around Western Massachusetts. And it was one of these, Western Mass is one of these places where, you hate it until you're about in your mid-20s. Then you start to appreciate, number one, that it's home, but you appreciate what it has to offer. And what it has to offer is, some real urban jungle areas, like some downtowns and some cities and stuff. And it's got some really rural areas where you don't have to drive very far to be in the middle of nowhere. You can go about 45 minutes and be lost. And then it's got everything in between, the whole thing. So the whole spectrum of what is great about the Northeast is really right here in my backyard, and I love it. It like I said, it takes 25 years to kind of get to the point where you're like, I can really appreciate this for what it's worth, and really enjoy it. And I love living here. It's great. Do I want to travel? I want to travel for recreation. I don't want to live anywhere else. I'm completely happy here. Although every winter does have me considering going down south. The older I get, the worse it is.
Yeah, it hurts everywhere, right? On the body, on the mental, everything.
It's the worst.
I get that. I used to say the same thing because, where I live in South Jersey, I am 5 minutes from Philadelphia. So, I'm 5 minutes from city life. I'm an hour from the beach, and I'm an hour from the mountains.
Yeah.
So it was perfect. It was the perfect in between. I could do everything that I wanted to do, whether that was city, suburbs, or like you said, just get into the wild and do your thing. Yeah. And I always appreciated that as a kid, just because I think I had both aspects. I had my dad's side, who was the outdoorsy side, and my mom's side, who was more vacation and family, and can be outside, but we don't need
of course.
to. Don't need
more
to.
Of the beach than out in the stick.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're more beach folks. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful like marriage of two sides. I
I got a
always love that.
I got a
Yeah,
question for you. So,
please.
as as a South Jersey native, how do you feel about the television show Jersey Shore?
I was a freshman in high
Yeah.
school
Yeah.
when that came out, or a sophomore. I
Formative
think I was a
years,
freshman.
developing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the formative years.
Right.
I used to think it was the dumbest thing. I don't, okay, so I never saw that as
Yeah.
a, like, I didn't see those types. I probably wasn't aware of it either.
Yeah.
But like, I remember like all of the seniors were about it, but like, we didn't dress like that to that extent either.
Oh, no. No, no,
It's
no.
a show. They have their popularity. They have their fame. They've made a
Yeah.
living off of it. Good for them. It's entertaining at times. There's other times I'm like, just turn this shit
It's an
off.
eye roll. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I love about that? So this is like one of the other things. I don't know if you know this about me either, but I am well, yeah, you listen to the show, you must. So I have a really unique job. I have my own business,
Mhm.
and I go and I quite literally I have an entertainment company. So I do event, I'm an event DJ, an announcer. I'm also a game show host. So I do game shows in bars and restaurants all over the place. One of the questions that's shown up multiple times is great, and it relates to what we're talking about, Jersey Shore. Do
Mhm.
you know what Jersey Shore translates to when it airs in Japan? If you were to translate it back to English, what it comes back to?
No.
It's
So
Macaroni Rascals. That's the name of the show in
they
Japan.
are the macaroni.
Macaroni Rascals.
If there's one thing we love, it's pasta.
It's fucking insane. One Italian American to another. I figured you could appreciate that.
Yeah, I really can. I really can. That's hilarious.
Oh
Okay.
God.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's great. So what, like, tell me, okay, so give me like what a typical day as like a kid was like for you growing up. Like, what was your childhood like? What were you exposed to? Like, what was the environment that you like grew up in?
It was a different age. We're talking
Yeah.
about late 70s, early 80s. I grew up in a very suburban area, the same town that Sean the Fisherman grew up in. I went to Catholic school for 4 years, and then switched over to public school. And then when I was about like 11 years old, my parents bought a house in a much more rural community. A town, Belchertown is the name of the town. And it's right along. It's actually it borders Ludlow, Mass. We had a conversation during your interview about Ludlow, but
Hmm.
Belchertown was truly like it was in. They referred to it as the sticks. There were no traffic lights when I moved there. There were none.
Wow.
There were like two or three different like areas where you could go and get like drinks. And one of these bars I remember fondly was called the Buck and Doe Lounge. And
Hell
like
yeah, it was.
and I like we bought my folks bought a small lot on another landowner's giant like chunk of property. They were slowly like plotting off, and it eventually turned into a more suburban neighborhood. But we had so much around us for untouched land that was totally
Oh,
unused because this family they had a small farm where they had one field, where they did like, different vegetables and stuff like that. And then they had a Christmas tree farm in the back. And everything else they just left totally natural. So I grew up there, and I would go and hunt. I would go and fish with my dad from when I was a little kid. But in those years when we moved there, we took advantage of it. We'd go and we'd hunt rabbits, we'd deer hunt, like all kinds of stuff. And it was wild. I kind of got a little out of fishing, I would say sometime in high school, but I did pick up another outdoors early high school, another hobby, and that was archery. And I got really into it, like crazy.
nice.
In fact, when I first started driving, I can remember I took this one girl I went to school with on a date, and we couldn't figure out what to do. I brought her to an indoor archery range. Just sat there just the whole time. And she's like, I guess this is like, she tried it.
Clueless. Yeah, yeah. Of
She
course
was
you
like,
did. But you were like,
whatever.
I don't
And I'm
know.
like,
Let's go
we
shoot
got
a bow.
okay. You don't want to go shoot pool? Let's go ahead and do this. All right, cool. And
Right?
those were the days I loved it. And then as I got a little bit older, got into college, like music kind of took the forefront. That's when my career in DJing sort of started. Because I always had been a collector of at the time like cassettes and CDs and things. And I always wanted to work in broadcasting. That was always something that had been there. I started to get really into like punk and metal music and stuff, and I'd go to shows, and then like the photography bug kind of hit a little bit. I'd take some pictures while I was there and shit. And Yeah, I just kind of drifted away from the outdoors, and I got real like I played in a bunch of bands and stuff. Stopped DJing for a little while, then got back into it once real life sort of happened, and I needed to kind of like build a career. I started working in television in the late '90s. Saw a lot of crazy shit working in TV. Realized that broadcasting was not really the business I wanted to be in if I wanted to actually have a life and a family and all this other stuff. Like there was just not enough money in it to make it worthwhile. So I kind of said goodbye to that. And that was where my own business started to kind of really expand. Hence the game shows and the trivia and everything else like that. That really started to become a vehicle to get more like larger that helped me build my wedding business. It helped me build these other elements that kind of go to, allow me to do the things that I can do. And I love working for myself. I'm one of those few people that I do well. I'm pretty productive, It might not look it on the surface. I might look like, like a homeless, hipster, dropping my kids off at school or something like that. But like I'm very productive working on my own, and I managed to actually do okay. So enter this was shortly, actually it was a few years before I left my career in television. I got into fishing because I was, we had the house, we had both of the kids, married life, and I was thinking I need a hobby
That's cheap.
right?
You thought. You
I was like,
thought.
yeah, I need a hobby that's cheap, man. I'm gonna go ahead and find something to do. I don't want to make a big investment. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Wow, what a moron.
Yeah.
So-
Riley. Both of your bones? I'm sorry. My dog is like chewing her bones and dropped both of them in the middle of her.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, no, that's funny. No, I'm sorry. Let's get back.
Yeah.
Cheap hobby.
Cheap.
No.
I need a hobby that's cheap.
No.
Because at the
Maybe.
time I was like, I need a license. Are you wearing an Eagles shirt?
I am. I
You're an
figured I'd
Eagles
rock.
fan? I got it. Okay.
I'm an Eagles fan. This is kind of for Jason Kelsey. I was debating on
All
wearing
right.
the
Okay.
Flyers jersey. I almost put the Flyers jersey
Oh, that's
on,
all
and
good.
then I
That's
was
all good.
like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, I'm an Eagles fan. Soraya's a Giants fan.
I'm a little ADD too. I mean,
Yeah.
it's true. So I was like, yeah, what do I need? I need a license. No big deal. And I need a rod and reel. Cool. I'll go to Walmart and pick that up. Whatever. Or I'll go on Amazon. Even better. I'll take my time and flip through and find. Well, I didn't know shit about freshwater fishing, really. Like my father and I heard in the I think it was the last episode of your podcast, I heard you talking about mealworms, and that immediately brought me back to fishing with my dad because
yeah. Yeah.
like the guts are white. It's like what
Oh God.
you look
They're
at his face is perfect.
They're crispy and then they pop open
They are
and then they're like
crispy.
freaking out.
They're
Oh,
crunchy. So like
disgusting.
my dad would fish for trout with shiners, mealworms, night crawlers. That was like the go-to right there. And it all worked. So that's what I did. I would start buying bait and going out. And I remember my buddy Paul. My buddy Paul is an interesting dude. He is first generation in this country Polish. And he is old school. And he was the one that was into fishing, like in our age bracket demographic, I guess. Before I was, and he was the one that was like, you should come out with me. It's a good time. And same thing. It would be like, we grab a couple of chairs and our rods and make a cast and sit down and start pounding coffee. And then eventually the coffees would turn into beers. And we're like, okay, cool. Are we going to catch anything? What's happening? We went out in like mid-March, like not even knowing any better. It was ridiculous. It happened to be a warmer winter. So like there wasn't any ice and everything. We're sitting out there and this must have been like 2012 or 2013, something like that. And it was ridiculous. We didn't catch anything. But then we were like, okay, it would be cool if we could catch something. Well, eventually I got into it where I had subscribed to one of those monthly subscription boxes, one of the old ones. I think it was called Tackle Grab. And
oh my gosh.
yeah, it was OG stuff. And just because I was like, when I would fish as a kid, my father always had this huge Plano tackle box with like the trays that extend out.
I was gonna say opens up and like 3 stories
like
of tackle opens up.
Yeah. And what was amazing? He had so many different baits that I recognize now. Some that he's actually given me just to hold on to for like nostalgia.
Oh,
like there's this walker that's a bat. And I thought it was the coolest shit when I was a kid. And So like he had all these lures, but he never used them. It was all live bait with him. And he's just like,
Right.
yeah, those are cool to play with, but like I've never really caught any kind of fish on them. So yeah, I'm not really a believer. Like you throw a worm on a hook or a shiner, boom, you're catching fish. So I was
Yep.
like, okay. Ironically, that was not the situation when we would fish together, oftentimes because my patience just wasn't there. So I would end up
Yeah.
caught up doing something else. I caught the occasional fish here and there, but nothing like really to write home about. Um, and then Paul and I would just explore. We would go to different areas along because really, where I live in Western Mass, unless you really, really kind of pay attention to some of these small ponds that are nearby, and that's really what we have are a lot of small ponds. We don't have any like huge, huge bodies of water.
Right.
Unless you're real familiar with those, you're kind of relying on a handful of river systems to kind of pay off. And like I ask all my guests, and I've learned over 4 years of doing this that when you mention fishing and current, like that freaks a lot of people out. Like they're like, I don't understand it. It's just it doesn't make any sense to me. But whatever. So
Mhm.
we would kind of start fooling around there and then looking for other ponds. We're like, let's find still water. We don't have to deal with any of this. So we would go from spot to spot to spot. Occasionally we would catch some fish, but it was never anything great. And then there's a story that I posted to the Patreon, the jig heads that follow Jigs and Bigs on Patreon. He and I had gone out one time. I would say probably the biggest body of water that you can fish parts of around here is this reservoir called Quabbin Reservoir. It's a drinking water supply for Boston. So anytime we have the opportunity, we pee right into that thing. Anytime we can. Um, so they have this program where you can rent a boat. And for us, as bank anglers, we're like, this is the jam. And it's
Yeah.
a bargain. It's like $60 for the whole day, and you can come back and gas up as often as you want. Like
Oh my
it
God.
includes, um, it kind of sucks because like you can't use your own kayaks. There's a SEAL
Right.
program where you have to, if you are going to use your own boat, you've got to get it, to pass their checklist of, whatever. So
Yeah.
we rent one of their boats and we go out, and it was one of these days we did stupid stuff. Like we would meet at Denny's at like 3 in the morning and have a giant breakfast and then decide to go and fish, not realizing that when you're on a boat, this causes you think where I'm going with this, right, Janelle?
I know exactly where you're going, man.
So we're on the water, and I it's not going well. I think I had
No.
at one point I had snapped a rod because I sunk a hook into the biggest tree stump in the area where we were fishing and just
Yeah.
snapped this. I set this hook like it was a freaking mako shark. It was ridiculous. So that rod was down, and then nature called. So I said to my buddy Paul, I go, look, dude, let's go back. Let's go back to the dock, handle some business. Then we'll go back out. He's like, okay, cool. It's April, the year that we're out here doing this. It's cold water. We're all bundled up, PFDs on the whole nine, and we're just zipping back. And the role was he would always be front of the boat. I would man the engine at the back. And I had gone to go and change hands because I was starting to get a cramp in my shoulder or something like that. And I let
Right.
go. And immediately the motor kicks to one side, kicking the back end of the boat out to that side. Um, Paul looks over at me, and now he's above me. And I have my glasses on, and I can see the water right there because I'm that far down. He looks
Right.
back at me. I reach over, and I'm just kind of feeling, and I feel the choke, and I pull it, and it just kills the engine, and the boat goes like this.
Oh, yeah.
Not today, Satan. But I was at
Could have
that
been.
point. I was like, I don't think I'm going to do this anymore. I think I made a mistake. I think poor judgment was exercised, and it's time to look back at the decisions I've made in my life and come back to this later. So I put it down. Fast forward about a year or so, I'm at work one night, and one of our past guests, this guy, Eric Dowd, Moose, we call him, great guy. He was working security at this one bar where I was at, and the topic came up of fishing. I think we were actually talking about some fishing YouTubers. And
Oh,
I was
okay.
just like, yeah, I'm like, I used to be so into fishing, man. I'm like, but it was just not for me. It just wasn't the right fit. So he goes, dude, you still got your rods and stuff? And I had like, I think one bait caster and a spinning combo. And he goes, come on out and fish with me tomorrow. He's like, there's a spot that I'm gonna go to. He's like, let's go freaking catch some fish, man. Screw it, let's go. So I go and I'm like, all right, whatever. I still got some baits, and I was like, at this point, like I hadn't really like taken the leap to like really learn much for technique. So I go out with one of my combos and I have a weightless Senko on, Texas rigged. I'm like,
Classic.
gonna be some grass, whatever. We'll throw this sucker out there. Green pumpkin, black flake, classic Yamamoto Senko. I zip this bait out into this little pile of grass, really. And this was probably my third cast, and I sunk into a 3-pounder. It was one of the biggest fish I have ever caught in my life at this point. I was like, holy shit, this is
Yeah.
crazy. Like, son of a bitch, man, done deal. And it was like fucking, I relapsed on heroin. Like, it was so bad. It was like, I felt so close to Artie Lang in that moment right there. I was just like, holy shit, my nose collapsed. I was like, this is wild. So he gets a picture. I'm like, I'm in. That day I went and I ordered a new bait casting rod, another bait casting reel, to upgrade some of the stuff that I had. I'd been using this old Quantum bait caster. It was just garbage. And the rod that I was using was a little bit, it was more technique specific. It actually is my jerkbait rod because it works out great. It's a 610 rod. I was like, okay, cool.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna hit the reset button on everything. We're just gonna do it. So I went and I got a bunch more gear. And this was right about the time where I had decided like I was gonna start taking better care of myself and like kind of watch some of what I was eating and start working out. So I was hitting the gym like 4 or 5 days a week. Like I was going out. And I can remember like part of my motivation was after I was done, like I'd do like 2 miles on a treadmill and I'd take a selfie right on the treadmill and people would be like, oh yeah, where's our sweaty Bobby pic this week or something. This is all pre-pandemic. And then I would take and go and fish for like 2 hours afterwards. And I would do all of my like office work later in the afternoon. Like, and then go do trivia that night. So it ended up working out really, really nice. My mornings were really, really dialed. And as I was taking that time, I was going, and I think I dropped like 40 or 50 pounds. It was great. It was
nice. Yeah.
So I had, when people are just like, holy shit, Bobby's so fat. No, Bobby was fucking fatter. He was much fatter. Still got plenty of work to do, but yeah, Bobby was fatter. So I had gone and I had put enough effort into learning some techniques and really starting to grow a little bit. I was like, okay, now I'm feeling a little bit more confident. And at this point, I had reconnected with Sean, and we had gone on a couple of kayak sends and stuff. The pandemic happened, and that's how Jigs and Bigs was born. Out of sheer boredom, not having anything to do. April 8th of 2020, I was just like, well, I'm not going to be working for a while. Let's just go ahead and do this. And then Jigs and Bigs happened, and it's just basically been like trying to make up for lost time. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, trying to do the shit I really should have been doing in my 20s. Like I lived for a year on a lake, never fished. Like, dude,
hurts my heart.
Wrong.
The first thing I would have done would have been fished.
Yeah. And there were canoes and kayaks that were like there in the backyard. My buddy's like, yeah, dude, anytime you want to go out, go for it. And I'm like, you know. I'm like, I'm too busy playing drums, thinking I was going to be a fucking, famous touring musician or some shit. Yeah, nope. So
doesn't everybody have that moment?
I feel like
I'm gonna be a rock star. Yeah. Well, School of Rock came out, and I bought one of those like V-shaped guitars, the black bass, and my uncle taught me for like 2 weeks, and then I was like, I'm done.
I'm done. Yeah,
I'm done.
Yep.
Can't figure it out. I can't multitask with the fingers, and I just can't. My brain can't do it.
See, that was the one thing about playing drums, I think that helped me, was the fact that like it was just like one of my favorite drummers is Keith Moon, and I don't think he ever paid attention to a damn thing he did. He was just kind of feeling it out, making it happen.
Yeah,
and I love that. So I mean, it's just it's wild to me. But so that's like my mission now. I'm like, holy shit, I did all this other shit and put so much effort into this. I totally overlooked this. I am not going to limit my adventures. And I can remember telling Paul when we first started fishing, I was like, dude, when I'm 50, on my 50th birthday, you and I are going 2 weeks and we're going to go somewhere like Minnesota or Wisconsin and just fish the entire time. And he's like, all right, cool, man. Yeah, that sounds great. I only have 4 more years to go.
I was just going to say, right?
I'm doing, I mean, I'm going to be there soon. So I'm like, it's only going to be a little while. And in the meantime, getting there, like I'm not even, it's gotten to the point now where I'm like, I'm not even looking for that number or that birthday or whatever, like in my mind, but like he needs that. he needs that so he can schedule and get the
Needs a
time.
countdown. He's
Yeah,
got it.
he's
Yeah.
like, no, we got to do this. Last year, we went to Chickamauga together, he and I,
Oh yeah.
and that was a great trip. I would actually, you know what? I would recommend the two that you and Soraya go and do this exact same trip.
Okay.
I'll get you in contact with the guide we went out with.
Please.
Totally, like, and I feel like his rates for the level of experience he has on Chickamauga are amazing. The
Okay.
lodging is key. The
It always
lodging.
is.
We stayed at these like Airbnbs that are right on top of an amazing tackle shop.
What?
So like everybody who's staying there,
That's so smart.
they all fish. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And like when you're hanging out like in the common room there, you just meet people, you talk fishing, you maybe go into the tackle shop. There's like they sell beer in there, but they've also got like they sell JDM shit. They, they sell like a full line of like
Wow.
Dobbins. They sell like,
Yeah.
I mean, shit that you can't find anywhere. Like there was a whole
Right.
wall of like jackal baits. And I'm like,
Oh.
holy fuck. I was just like, this is amazing. It's called Talk and Tackle. And
Okay.
that's exactly what they do. I can't recommend it enough. Like that was
Sweet.
combined with the outing with Caleb Bell. That was
Yep.
like the match made in heaven. You and Soraya would have
Yep.
a blast.
All right. Yeah. Hook it up.
That's it.
Hook
Yeah,
it up.
it's
Gotta
worth it.
do it. That's awesome.
Although you guys can
Dude,
take the
that's
bus down there and just park in the parking lot. You know what I mean?
what I'm saying. Yeah. But at the same time,
Yeah.
I will do my due diligence by buying all the tackle. I don't
Oh
know
yeah.
why I couldn't say due diligence. But yeah. You're like, I'm gonna park in your parking lot, but I'm gonna spend about $1,000
Yeah.
on all of your
I'm gonna
lures,
buy all the
tackle,
stuff.
rods. Yeah. I think it's a fair trade here.
Oh yeah. No, I agree. 100% it is. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I've been doing.
That's an incredible like childhood experience. So you hunt. So you were a hunter. You're
A
still
little
hunt.
bit a terrible hunter. No, I
Well,
don't. Yeah.
no.
I only hunted for like really like a couple of years in high school. And then once I really kind of like got into music, I stopped doing everything with the outdoors. My father doesn't even really
Right.
hunt anymore. Like
Huh.
I think he went out for like grouse one year. And that was a big thing. Like for like my dad would, I think in his all of his years deer hunting, I think he's only ever brought home one deer. And I'm not going to say anything, but your little chuckle there said everything.
No. I know the struggle. I've watched
Yeah,
my dad, and it's just like heartbreaking.
one deer. But my dad really does like to bird hunt a lot. In fact, growing up, we had dogs, hunting dogs. So
Yep.
like it was perfect. Like pheasant was a big one. We oftentimes had pheasant or grouse in the house, and it was cool, you know. But I just for me, it just didn't really do the same thing. And something about fishing that just hits different. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Hmm.
And also
The
the
water.
is insane.
Yeah,
It's
that's
insane.
true.
You
That's
know.
true. So we want to get into like I've always wanted to do bird hunting.
Yep.
Soraya's like, I want to do duck hunting. I'm like, all right, can we focus on archery? We have like we one thing at a time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we did archery last fall, 2 years ago. We
Hmm.
both got a doe. And then this
Oh
year we
no
got
shit.
married. So it was, yeah, we both got a doe like within a couple weeks of each other. So
That's fucking awesome.
I know, and we filmed it. It was adorable. So we're sitting in a double stand, like whatever. I'm like, okay, I'm hunting today. You're filming. She's like, okay. So we had the GoPro above me. I had the camera on like a big boom swing,
Yep.
and she filmed my first doe, and then I filmed hers. She has the natural gift of shooting a deer in the neck. Um, it was the most.
Oh,
It was the most scarring moment of both of our lives. I swear to God. I'm filming.
how
She
long were
stands
you
up.
looking for that deer?
It was right there.
Oh, really?
No, let me tell you right now.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, because we you know the same herd or whatever. So we're like, all right. I'm like, the deer are coming. I'm like, stand up if you want to stand because like these deer know we're there. Like this is a
Yeah.
stand that's been there for decades. I'm like, stand up, get ready. She's like stood up and drawn back before the deer are even at the bait pile because you can bait for corn
Oh,
in New Jersey.
all right.
Yeah. But it's still a different ball game.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I have the camera ready. I'm looking through the lens. She's up and she shoots and the deer just drops like immediately and she's stunned. I'm stunned. I'm realize like as I'm putting it together, I'm seeing the arrow through this thing's neck
Uh-huh.
and her ears are moving, and I'm like, fuck. Like, and my wife is like shaking, crying, having like a traumatic, like, Bobby, I get up and I turn around and I sit in front of her, hanging off a 20-foot like deer stand. I'm like, don't look. I'm like, it's okay. Everything's okay. Don't look at the deer. The deer's fine. She's like, what did I do wrong? I'm like, nothing. You did nothing wrong. You did great.
It
You did
was
great. You
fine.
did great. She's freaking the fuck out. I'm just like,
In the
I'm
meantime,
like,
here's like,
Help!
yeah.
Help!
And all the other
I
deer like
can't
are
fucking
gone.
breathe.
I called my dad. He's like, what'd you get? I'm like, can you just get here? I was like, sorry, I got one, but it's complicated. I get her out of the stand. I'm like,
it's
don't look, just
complicated.
don't look at it.
Yeah.
Like, don't look at it. Just get out of the woods.
Oh my God, I'm crying.
I know. It's terrible. I can't even edit the footage. I haven't even been able to go back and look at it because
Oh,
I'm
that's
just
right.
like,
Yeah, you've got footage.
shit. The camera's just sitting there, like facing the deer while I'm just like covering her face and like holding her, and God, what it's like to have a partner like in these moments where you're just like, fuck.
Oh, that is insane.
And like, you know, what happens sometimes you hit a deer in the spine and then you kind of have to go up and finish the job. She just
Yeah.
jolted. She was definitely holding her draw for too long
Yep.
and then got excited and just jolted and just turned that arrow 2 feet to the
Yeah.
right instead
Too
of
much.
right, you know.
Where the vitals are. Ooh.
Yeah. Well, she got a vital.
Yeah, she definitely got a
I
vital.
said if my grandfather was alive, he would have been like, you are a sure shot right there. Like,
And that's tough because, like, yeah, if you hit the deer in a spot, you have a day planned.
yeah.
Like you're tracking that deer for quite some time.
Yep.
Wow, that's wild. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Having a
I
good fun.
Stop. Dude, panic attack. Both of us, but I had to be like, it's fine. Like, I had to be like, you're in protect mode. You cannot go through the trauma right now. Deal with this
Yeah, yeah,
later.
yeah.
Take care of the girl. And I was just like, I was like, fuck. Never
She's
seen
lucky you were
anyone do
there.
that.
She had a
Oh
meltdown.
my God.
My God.
So lucky that I was there.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was
How was yours?
just, mine was great. So I had to take a shot through 2 trees.
All right.
Right.
All right. Yep.
Mine was actually pretty good because the herd had come through, spooked out once, and then about 30 minutes later came back again.
Yep.
The doe that I was watching kind of came, stopped, and I was like, this is my only opportunity before she's too close
Yeah.
for me to turn. So I'm like, okay, I like draw back, I take the shot. It was actually like maybe like 6 inches back. No, not really. It was a good shot for like the
Yeah.
vitals. She took off running, called my dad, called my neighbor. They got the whole crew together. Then we went out. We gave her like an hour because I was like, I think I hit her back. And we're watching the video. My dad's like, you got her just fine. Like,
Yeah.
let's go get her. Like, so we all go in the woods. Soraya's filming, and we found her and gutted her and did
That's
the whole
freaking
thing.
awesome.
It was great. Yeah, back straps for dinner, celebrated.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
It's a big moment. So like my neighbor, when I grew up, in our old house, the neighbor across the street, he was a big hunter. He taught his girls how to hunt, and my
Mhm.
dad would hunt with him as well. So like getting back into archery, I've been like, hey Gene, like where's, like, because I'm hunting in his stand. He's like, I got places for you because he's
Yeah.
avid. So I'm updating him constantly. So like I call my dad first, obviously, and I'm calling him second. I'm like, I got one. He's like, I got one too, but I'll be on the way in like 10 minutes. And I'm like, all right, cool. And it was just like a great, because like he's like a father figure as well. And then you have
Yeah.
my dad, and then you have like my fiance at the time. So it was just like a really special.
That's awesome. That's so
It was
fun.
awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
We
I haven't
have
gotten a deer since.
we have a handful of the jig heads and it's specifically like the contributors that write to Fishing Report. Like that's a good
Yeah.
group of people that we have around us, and a lot of those guys hunt too. And one of these guys specifically, we've talked about him on Jigs and Bigs before, is Nelson. Nelson is actually, he's a pretty good trapper as well, and he has the past couple of years come into I think he's got a good connection with some pretty large property owners that have issues with beavers damming up
Oh,
these creeks and like all this stuff. So they want to take him out. So
yeah.
he'll go and do some trapping. And I will tell you, I think arguably the best game meat that there is, I think, is elk. I think it's the like upper
Oh, okay.
tier, S tier. It's
Yeah.
elk, but beaver is not far behind it. It's
Oh, really? Wow.
really fantastic. It really is.
Nice. That's awesome.
We did beaver sliders a couple years ago when we were fishing. We did the saltwater send, and
Yeah.
it was absolutely out of this world.
Yeah.
And then I wasn't there for this, but Sean gave me the full report. Beaver nachos, which turned out to be pretty amazing. It is. It's a lot like beef. It really is.
Okay.
It's
Wow.
just flavorful. More.
I've heard things about raccoon. I've heard good things about raccoon
Yeah.
too. Like I'm just like, all right, well, just cook it right for me. Just cook it the right way. I'll eat it. I will try anything once unless it's like crazy spicy. I'll try anything once. Just put it in front of me and sometimes dude, cow tongue is like my favorite taco of all time.
Cow
Lengua.
tongue. Oh yeah.
Cow tongue in
Yeah.
Vermont. There's this place that we go to in Burlington, and every time I'm like, give me the cow tongue. I need it now. It's delicious.
It's out of
So
this world.
tender.
Out of
Oh
this.
my God.
It, it's awesome. I think one of the best ingredients you can cook with is duck confit,
Yep.
where you duck legs and you basically slow cook them in duck fat. They just fall apart, and it's just come on.
And you're just like, gimme.
Yeah. I've had
Yep.
duck confit hash with eggs. That is out of this.
I can't.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. Okay. That's amazing. All right. So let's circle it back. Okay.
Pile it
So you
around.
grew up. Yeah. Do you remember the first fish that you ever caught? Like,
I do know that it was a bluegill. Only because there are pictures of it.
Okay.
Actually,
Rite of passage.
specifically, no, it wasn't just a bluegill. It was a pumpkin seed, specifically.
Rock on.
And I don't remember how old I was. I want to say I was like 4, maybe.
Mhm.
This would have been like 81, something like that. I'm actually even been a little bit younger because my sister may not have been born. So yeah, I don't think my sister was born. And I remember this, and I've actually gone back and I fished that pond where it came from. And I went with Paul, and Paul, story of Paul's life, missed a blow up on a topwater frog right in that area. Giant fish too. Just going by the motion in the water and knowing what the depth is, I'm like, this would have been a really, really good fish. But story of the guy's life. So yeah, that, I mean, it was definitely a pumpkin seed. I don't really like remember much about it other than just that for sure I was throwing like a small like spin cast, like little kids combo with a bobber.
Yep, like that long.
Yep, exactly. Like you catch like, oh, it went like 10 feet out. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, I did it.
It was pretty awesome.
That's great. So you have siblings or a sibling?
I do. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
I have one younger sister.
Okay.
She's not as good looking as me, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, they never are.
They never are.
I have a younger brother.
Isn't being the oldest like insane?
Yeah, and Soraya is the younger of the two, so she has an older brother, and I'm just like, get her out of here.
That's weird.
But she acts like the oldest, so I'm just like,
sometimes that's how it is.
Sometimes that's how it is.
Yeah,
no, it's hilarious. But I grew up like raising my little cousins in a sense. So like I was the oldest, but everyone was like 2 or like 1 or 2 year difference. Like, you know what I mean? So it was
kept it nice
and like 8 of us. Yep, everyone like planned it out.
My kids are almost 6 years apart.
Oh wow, you didn't.
But they're like best friends. It's crazy.
Sometimes it works. 6 years apart. Wow. Yeah, I'm like 2 years older than my brother.
Ridiculous story too, so that it makes sense when you hear the whole story.
All right, we'll get into it. I'm sure we'll get into it.
All right.
So, growing up, were you like a cartoons like kid? Did you like watch cartoons? Okay, what was your favorite cartoon?
My favorite one, I was a Transformers guy.
Yes, you were. I was a Power Rangers girl.
Yeah, I was a big Transformers guy, especially those first couple of seasons. Never really got too much into like the G.I. Joe and stuff, but I also was a classic, like I loved the old school Warner Brothers cartoons. And I can remember watching those with like my grandfather specifically.
Yeah.
And like he just had the loudest voice and would just laugh at the stupidest shit. It was the best. And I love that shit. I absolutely love it. Yeah.
Yeah, my grandmother, we would watch Tom and Jerry like every time I would go over. Like I think I went over there every weekend till I hit like the like the separation anxiety.
Yeah.
I would like be sitting on her lap, just like in stitches, laughing, crying at Tom and Jerry with her. Like, love those memories.
It's the best. It's the best.
I
they
know.
don't make that shit anymore. They really don't.
They don't.
Although even
don't.
now, like I still love animation. I love cartoons.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love it.
hmm
Like I will watch one of my favorite shows to watch when my kids were growing up. When they were young, they got into this show called Adventure Time. Have you ever seen this?
I know Adventure Time. Yes, I do. Yeah.
Love Adventure Time. It's so smart. You know what I mean? It's
hmm
ridiculous. It's so good. It's also unbelievably stupid in some ways, but like it's
Yeah.
just so
But
good.
that's also like, but that's how they get you.
Oh yeah.
Everyone's like, oh, it's so stupid. You're like, oh, really? Do you watch it? Because I don't think it's that stupid. You're just
No,
like,
it's really not. I think it's
yeah,
really, really smart. I was like, oh no shit. This is pretty good. They love it though.
yeah, yeah. Tom and Jerry, Scooby Doo, you have to. The old SpongeBob's were the best. And then I would watch like Rocket Power, Eliza and the Wild Thornberries, which was like about this girl and her
Oh
family who
yeah.
like lived in an RV in Africa. And I was like, oh, I wonder why I relate to this.
You would love my trivia nights because you're right in that age pocket where like most of my players are when they come
Mhm.
out to play. And like, so I did a television, what was it, cartoon animation like theme songs as a musical.
Oh,
And
I'd
all
be
those
into
shows
that.
that you listed, I had the song from every
We're
single
in.
Wild Thornberry,
Soraya and I. Oh my
Rocket
God, the
Power.
Wild.
I was like, who the fuck likes?
Loved Rocket Power. I feel like Rocket Power didn't really get to its moment.
No, no, it
Didn't. I don't think
happened. It did. That's wild.
Yeah, Soraya and I will have to come up just for that. We have an Airbnb gift card. We'll just come up for a trivia
Oh
night.
yeah. Bring the bus. Bring the
I
bus up to
know
Lincoln Hills
it's this
apartment.
close to being street legal. Like this
Oh, that's
close.
awesome. I saw you posted a bunch of pictures recently from the
hmm
painting and stuff.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Like,
It's a pain in the ass. I
I'm
think we
sure
spent
it is.
11 days from start to finish to getting that
Uh,
thing painted. The sanding is ridiculous.
Oh yeah,
You're just like sanding, sanding, sanding. And like I had people come over. Like I had my one cousin come and help us the one day. Me, my dad, Soraya, my uncle. Like it was like I was like, we're having a sanding party. Anybody want to
yeah,
come and just sand? I
sure.
killed my
You,
sander. I,
oh
my dad's sander. I retired that thing as well. It's like we're done. Just like his rod. It's
they
over.
they only have so much in them, you know.
Yeah. I gave it a good run.
Yep.
So I'm gonna upload the picture of the color today.
No,
I'm doing pretty decently. Soraya, we were having this conversation last night. I've been posting every day on the socials, which is good because
yep.
normally I'm like not there. She was like, I want your access to your Instagram. We're gonna start a TikTok for you and your calendar, your schedule, because she's the one who's very like matter of fact. And I'm like,
Yep.
okay,
I'll sh-
whatever.
I'll teach you a little trick that helps with growth.
Okay,
If
sweet.
you're ever
Yeah,
like, oh, I don't have any content, don't worry about it. You can do
yeah.
things to get that post, that day or that
Right.
whatever your schedule is.
hmm Yeah. All right. Who did you look up most to when you were growing up? Let's get into it.
Who did I look up most to when I was growing up? When I was growing up, God, there's so many different because I'm one of these people that likes to put things in compartments,
Yep.
you know.
Okay. Give me a compartment.
So like I would say like for the outdoors and all that stuff, I definitely as a kid, I definitely looked up to my dad for sure. Uh
Mhm.
and I think as actually, even in the culinary side of the world, because like my father is an amazing cook. He is the best. Everybody who ever meets him, Sean knows what I'm talking about. We
Oh.
brought him to Champlain for that trip. My dad's like, "Oh, I'm gonna make this nice big Chateaubriand. I'm gonna do this. It's gonna be awesome."
Oh.
And Sean was just like, "Holy fucking shit!" Like we were taking breaks in between recording the podcast, going
Yeah.
over and slicing pieces of roast beef off. It was out of this world. So I definitely look up to him as well. And actually, even a little bit in music because my father was a drummer as well. I didn't learn any of the drums or anything from him. I more nagged him to play around with his drum kit, uh,
Right.
which is kind of odd in a lot of ways. Like that was when I was really young, and then I just kind of stopped with it. And then when I was what was I 19 or 20, I just went out and bought a drum set. It's just,
Right.
yep,
Well, I think it's that gap between like being a kid and like thinking something's
yeah,
cool, and then like you have a million other things going on because
yeah,
you're developing, but like
oh
you're
yeah,
developing in such a free spirited way. And then you hit those like teenage to early 20s, and that's when things start really kind of latching on and becoming permanent. So it makes
Oh,
sense
yeah.
that it's like, oh, as a kid, that was cool. And then like, oh, squirrel. And then like, oh, cartoon's on. Give me some ice cream. Like that's where
That's
your brain's at.
exactly it. Yeah, it's just and
Yep.
everything is just this giant mix of like everything. So, yeah,
Yep.
my dad is definitely a big inspiration in a lot of like different little compartments here and there. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think yeah, I can probably say that confidently.
Yeah. Sweet. What? Okay, so let's get into sports. What kind of sports fans were you growing up? Were
So
you? Were you at all? It was a better question.
here's the thing about sports, Bobby roast beef.
Oh boy.
Bobby roast beef gives zero fucks about sports.
Really?
Zero. Everybody that meets me thinks I'm like a big sports guy. I don't
Oh,
know
you
what
wear
it
the.
is.
I don't know. Is it the hockey jersey or what?
Well, so and it's so the actually yeah, the Jigs and Bigs hockey jersey that was
Hmm.
just happened to be that was actually a birthday gift from a bunch of jig heads from Sean the Fisherman, a bunch of our partners, a bunch of friends of
That's
the
really cool.
put
Yeah.
that together, which is awesome. So I've actually only ever worn that out twice.
Yeah.
Once for a walkthrough for an expo, and then at the 200th episode, I wore that because I was like, you know what,
Yep.
I'm gonna do the hoodie, I'm gonna do the hockey jersey,
Hell
and
yeah.
but yeah, I'm not really a sports guy. It's not that I don't
Okay.
like understand sports. I genuinely couldn't care less. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, I'm a New Englander, so I am a little like I think you should root for the teams that you're near, like
Hmm.
the hometown team, whatever that is, or if you
Hmm.
move to somewhere else and you're rooting for someone or whatever, it doesn't matter. Fucking it's
Yeah.
entertainment. That's it.
Yeah.
I like to bust balls about sports. That's
That's
about it.
probably why.
So like
That's.
I, I know some Miami fans, some Dolphins
Mhm.
fans around here. We have some friends that are Dolphins fans, and I like to bust balls about that. Can't do that this year. You know what I mean? Because it's been all
Right.
right. It's been okay.
Yeah.
Better than most. Any Dallas fans, Cowboys fans, specifically like football, for some reason, I give the least amount of fucks, but I like to bust the most amount of balls. Like if
Fucking Dallas.
if you're a Cowboys fan, it's like
What the fuck are you doing with your
Yeah.
life?
Fuck right off. Fuck right off.
now I'm going to tell you, Janelle, I think you're wonderful, but it is a strike against your character that you're an Eagles.
An Eagles fan. Yeah. Well, I grew up, I could see Philadelphia practically
Yeah,
from my house. So, and then Soraya's, because she's a New Jersey girl, she's like, I'm
yeah.
a, Giants fan. She's like, why aren't you? She's like, what the
Oh,
fuck is
how
wrong with you?
does
I'm
that
like,
work
Sor
in your house?
it's bad. It's bad. She's a she's a Red Sox fan. I'm a Phillies fan. She's a
Yeah.
Devils fan, hardcore. I'm a
Okay.
Flyers fan.
You're a
And
Flyers fan.
then she's a Giants fan, and I'm an Eagles fan, which both
Yeah.
teams fucking suck anyways. So it's like, fuck that. No, she's more of a hockey girl. I'm a football girl, and then I can watch the Flyers. I'll cheer for the Devils. I
Yeah.
don't care. So I like watching good sports. I like watching a good competitive
A
game.
good
I
game.
like watching players that are respectful, but also, are
Passionate.
yeah, passionate. I
Yep.
fucking hate arrogant assholes. I hate crybabies. I hate all of that shit.
Yep.
I play softball and I play flag football currently.
Yeah.
So, but sports is it's a huge outlet for me. It's
Yeah.
always been a huge outlet for me. And like, I'll even watch soccer. Like I watch European soccer all the time just because like, I just love, if it's not a good game, it's background to whatever I'm doing. But
For
like, if
sure.
it's a good game, I'm like, look, yeah, and I'm yelling I'm a yeller at the TV,
Oh yeah.
like in it to win it. The dog's like, what the fuck is going on? Soraya's trying to do something, and I'm just like, and she's like, what? And like, I know my plays. Like, I'm like, I got it.
When
But
I was in like middle school and early high school, I was really into NBA basketball. But those were the years. Like those are the Jordan years.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
mm-hmm,
Like I
that's
thought
fair.
I thought the NBA was just amazing. A few years later in high school, I got really into hockey. And it wasn't like it was just more like I don't know. I think it was just a point in time where this one winter I had nothing to do, so I'd be hanging out at my buddy's place, and he and his father would just watch the Bruins every single weekend, and I'd be like, "All right, cool, we'll watch the Bruins game, awesome," and I would pick up a few things here and there, and I'm like, "Awesome, that's great, I love it."
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not a sports guy at all. Like I get it, and I like the
Yeah.
mechanics and the statistics and everything. Early 2000s, I tried so hard to dive into baseball, but I'm sorry, I can't fucking be bothered. I'm a Red Sox
Yeah.
fan. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh,
Because
sweet. Okay.
they're the hometown team.
Oh
But,
yeah.
I mean, do I give a shit? Not really. In
No. Yeah.
fact, interesting little postscript. Bobby Roast Beef has won tickets to go to a Sox game. I've never seen a Major League Baseball game, a Major League sports game in my life.
Oh wow.
I have won tickets on multiple times. Probably, I would say at least 6 different instances. I've never been able to go, and I've always had to sell the tickets or just
Oh.
take them as or give them away.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm just like, I don't give a fuck.
Right.
I'm in my
Baseball.
30s. I don't give a fuck.
I can't even watch baseball, and like I just can't watch baseball in
It's not
general.
engaging.
It's if you're there again and it's a good game and the crowd is and everything is good, it's a great time.
Yeah.
But as soon as you hit that dry spell, I'm like, I would want to leave, rather leave.
Yep.
Fuck the hot dog, fuck the whatever $50 beer that you just bought. Like I want to go.
I would rather hang out in the parking lot and grill brats and
Yeah, right.
crush beers, and that I can get into.
Yeah, I've never tailgated. My uncle, every time he sees the bus, he's like, I'm going to take this to an Eagles game and we're going to tailgate. And I'm like, yeah, okay. I've never tailgated. My parents, they're not tailgate kind of people. Like, I've been to plenty of games and stuff.
Sure.
They're just not tailgaters. Soraya, for her first baseball game, we had to go to Boston. We had to go to Fenn. We had to do the whole thing. Like, it had to be. Yep. And when they played the Phillies and they won, and I cheered for both teams because I am a good wife.
Yeah.
She's like, I love you, but I will never be able to cheer for the Flyers. Like she hates the Flyers with her with all. Yeah, but like with baseball, she's like, okay, I can cheer for whoever. Football, okay, the Giants are up and down just like the Eagles are, so it depends on the week. And then yeah, we don't watch basketball, but yeah, when it comes to hockey, she can't support the Flyers, and I'm just like, whatever. Like,
I think that's kind of awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
it keeps it spicy. That's for sure.
Yeah. But I was like, not one. I get mad sometimes because I'm like, can you just fake support? I don't care. Fake support for one game. Like, for one game. That's all. And we were in Philly the day that we had the parade for the, oh my God, the World Series when we won. So that was cool. Like my parents let us skip school and we got on the subway and we went across and like we were there. We're like, woo, we saw them go by. And they were like, we're definitely not going for the Super Bowl win. I was like, what is wrong with you? Never won a Super Bowl. We didn't fucking go to Philly. I mean, I get it. But I was mad. Because when we were there for the Phillies, my dad's boss had like an office complex right on the strip. So we really just went there.
Yeah.
And we stayed there. And then we went down to the street once. I think my dad put me on his shoulders once and then like waved and then like went back up. But like when you don't have an escape route in Philly and the fans are doing what the fucking fans do.
Because that's the thing about Philly. Like there's a courthouse in that stadium. That's not common, No. Philly fans are insane. How do you feel about the show It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
Funny, but I never got into it.
Oh, really? Oh, God.
Yeah.
I love it. I feel like it's
Go ahead.
It's like Seinfeld for that next generation. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Once YouTube made a more prominent point in my life, like I watch YouTube 99% of the time, I'm watching somebody do a survival challenge, fishing, like doesn't matter what the category is, but that's what I'm watching. Because TV anymore doesn't do it. I watch some like Alone, which is a survival like show. I watch that. Yeah. But like I don't get into TV anymore. And at that point in my life, I was playing sports in high school and then like just kind of like turning into a loner a little bit. Once like college started.
What's wrong with that?
I know, right? Dude, believe it or not, I'm an introvert. I recharge my batteries on being alone or with my wife. That's it. And people are like, "Oh, but you're so like bubbly and nice and outgoing." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I can do the people thing, but the battery drains very quickly." Like, so
it's funny you say that. Because I can relate in a significant way. A lot of people think the same thing about me. They're like, what are you talking about? You're on a microphone 6 days a week. Like you're always talking to people. You seem so outgoing and everything. And the thing is, because my natural ability is to really just shut up and more be a wallflower than anything else, that shit is exhausting. You know what I mean? So like when I'm done with trivia, I'm just like, it's almost like like you ever see footage of like James Brown, like after he was done performing, they throw like a cape over him and bring him off stage like that.
Yep. Yeah.
That's how I feel like I should be like that because I'm like, it is exhausting to go and like entertain. Like I will, when I do a wedding, that's like a 12 or a 13-hour day most of the time.
I know. I
For
know.
when I'm going in there, because I'm the first one to get there and the last one to leave to handle all the setup, the tear down, and then engage with everybody, keep everybody happy, keep everything on time. When I leave, I drive home in silence.
It's silent, and your ears are ringing, and you're just
And
like,
yep. And I'm just like, I get home, and then for like the next day, I won't leave my house if I can avoid it. I only this last year was just like because of the tournaments, because of the multi-species scavenger hunts. I was like, nope, I got to get out and fish. I'm going to drag the kayak out. I'm going to go and do it.
yeah,
Luckily for me, my kayak has kind of become, I've become so comfortable. Like it's an extension of me now in the summertime.
yep.
It's always
Mhm.
if unless I'm going to like I'm working and the parking lot's not going to allow. I pretty much have my kayak with me all the time. Like
Yep,
I'll
me
lug that
too.
trailer wherever. I'm like, whatever, cool. I'm gonna go ahead and do it. And I'll send it as long as I have a few hours to send it. I'll send it to make
Yep.
it worth it, you know.
Yep.
But
My kayak is always in the spring, it's always strapped to the roof of my car.
yeah.
It's
when
like everyone's like, oh, there she is.
when I had my Ascend, it was like that on my Ford Escape. My truck is too tall for this kind of shit. And the Titan,
Yeah.
it's a fucking 200-pound fucking hull. It's ridiculous. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. It's so heavy. So yeah, I got to trailer it, but I'm not mad about that. I still got some
No
mods in
complaints.
my trailer.
Yeah.
Yep,
Sweet.
some cool shit.
I was gonna ask. Let's get into it. Okay,
Okay.
so let's talk about you're a truck camper. How did you get into truck camping or camping in general? And then how did that transition into truck camping?
So I have always wanted to go and take the element of camping and apply it to fishing to extend the journey. Like when I first started fishing with Paul, we were having conversations and I'd say, hey man, I really would like to go and travel here and sink a few days into a body of water.
Mhm.
Really take it. And I'm talking about bank fishing. Like I was like, let's go to this spot and we'll just do whatever. Now, once I got into using a kayak, I really and once I was genuinely like just off the bank, I really saw the value in being able to dedicate more time to a spot. So camping just it was going in that direction one way or the other. I had this idea in my head that I was going to and I wanted to create a system that made it easy for me to go. And even if I was at a ramp, be able to, park there, camp, and basically live out of my vehicle for 2 to 3 days or whatever it might be in there. And I had toyed around with the idea of like, do I want to get something and like get a rooftop tent and do that? And I'm not really that guy. Like, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? I also was like, if I need to, I want to be able to camp in a stealthful way if need be. So I have the ability. So when I had was looking around for another vehicle, and I've always wanted a 4Runner. I've always wanted a 4Runner.
Mhm.
It actually my very first vehicle was it was a 1978 GMC Jimmy, and it got nine miles to the gallon.
Oh
It
yeah.
had a 40-gallon gas tank. It was enormous. And I
Wow.
only drove this thing for about 2 years because I was like, I just can't afford the gas. I'm like, I'm working
Right.
nonstop to put in the gas tank. It's ridiculous. So I got a smaller truck. And it was at a point where I had a friend of mine who worked at a Toyota dealership. And I told him what I was looking for. And he was like, dude, do me a favor. He's like, I know you. He's like, you're a big guy like I am. He's like, but this vehicle has to do a lot of things. Like it has to check boxes. So it's got to be my daily driver because I'm not buying multiple vehicles. I'm not buying a vehicle just for recreational and outdoor use. Uh,
Right.
and I'm also really not like an off-road guy. I could see myself dabbling a little bit in the future,
Mhm.
but I'm not one of these like wheelers. That's not what I'm into at all. So for me, it was more finding a vehicle that one I could use as a work vehicle to haul my equipment around. So I basically needed a somewhat larger SUV than what I was using. And a 4Runner fit the bill perfectly. But I was like, am I going to be able to, find what I'm looking for? And I put it kind of on the back burner, but I would check inventory once in a while. And I got so lucky when I found my truck. So I knew going into it exactly, this was what I was going to buy. And it was just a matter of waiting for the right one to show up. And the year I bought my truck, they had released a new trim. they call it the TRD Sport.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about this. And it's almost like it's almost like the limited and like the SR5 premium kind of like had a love child, because this has the suspension from the limited, the wheels from the limited,
Oh yeah.
pretty much everything else that like an SR5 would have. So it's like a little bit more of an economical, but it's a TRD, so it's got like the decorative hood scoop on there and shit like
Yeah.
that. Those other
Yep.
TRD stuff, and it's available in TRD colors. And I don't see very many of them, but I do get quite the chuckle when I see another TRD Sport, because
Oh yeah.
the redheaded stepchild of the Forerunner world, of Gen 5 Forerunners, you know? So
Yep.
I knew going into it, even when I took the leap into this truck, I knew that I was going to be looking for some kind of a sleep system in the back, and I wanted it to be full width. So I ended up reaching out to a handful of different, people asking a lot of questions. Initially, there was a company that makes this kit that utilizes actually parts that come from IKEA. Like, you buy the kit, and then they tell you to order these parts from IKEA as like the other parts of the bed frame and the mattress that fits it. And I asked the guy, I was like, look, this is what I'm thinking of. He goes, all right. He's like, you say you're a bigger guy. Like, how big are we talking? He's like, no bullshit. He's like, because height and weight are a big deal. And he goes,
Mm-hmm.
because you're lifting it up and you're going higher up, you're going to decrease the amount of space you have in the capsule you'll be sleeping in. So he goes, I genuinely don't think you're going to find this product that we do worth it or comfortable. I don't think you're going to have nearly the experience. He's like, if I were you, I would look more into these things. So I looked into them, and I discovered Deep Sleep Overland, this company from Arizona. And they started out as a Jeep like accessory company. They would make like inflatable mattresses and stuff for Jeeps and everything. And then they expanded into that, where now they've got like different like truck bed styles and different SUV styles like Forerunners, and even like now like Subarus and stuff. I have a friend that has an Outback, and he wants to start doing some camping trips, which is kind of funny because he's one of my few vegan friends. We're an old bandmate of mine. And
Yeah.
of course, he rocks the Buru. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that
It's
is the
either
veganest off-road vehicle that I can think of.
vegans or lesbians. Which one do you got?
Janelle, I'm glad you said that, and I did not.
That's
Um,
fine.
but
Uh,
he goes, and so I'm looking at this, and these mattresses are great. Like, they're not tiny, but they're light. You know,
okay.
when you roll them up, like, they're still pretty sizable because there is foam inside, but there's
Okay.
also a pocket for air. So when they inflate, they're like really comfortable and really, really soft. And I've
Wow.
been out now probably about half a dozen, maybe 10 times, and
Mhm.
slept in these, and they're great. The problem is that I'm not tall enough for most things. Like, I am the person that has to stand on her tiptoes to like get on some rides at Six Flags. I have to go and sleep diagonal in the back of this truck. Now, eventually, after I'm assured that I'm not going to need a back seat anymore, I'm actually removing the bottom of the back seat that flips up. It'll give me probably
Yep.
about 7 more inches in there, which would be
Mhm.
great, because then maybe I can convince my wife to come out and camp in the truck like that. But I went another route, and I bought a really, really nice like hub style tent with a couple of cots, so we're not sleeping on the floor or on
Right.
the,
Right.
and it's awesome. I love camping. It's, for me,
Hmm.
the best part about camping is the cooking. Like, that's
Oh.
what the most of my efforts into, as far as like my that's where I get bougie. Like, I
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
knives I bring for camping that are just as good as knives as they would be, but I don't want to have to juggle them back and forth for both. I've got multiple systems for like being able to cook on different, fire surfaces, whether it's
Yep.
natural
Yep.
storage, different fuels, things like that. And I love it. It's just it's amazing. And it was fishing with Becca that really kind of like lit the fire under my ass to like really go and go for it and make
Yeah.
it happen. So that was a big part of it. Like, I love the idea of the overlanding with air quotes, but I know that in the typical overland community, what I do is like soft roading at the very,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm not like trying to tilt my car on like an inch of each rock and trying to do that kind of overland. I mean,
Like, I don't want
I
to put armor on my truck.
yeah, no, God, yeah, no.
Not for me.
But we are going to do our Tacoma to some extent, depending on if we sell it or not. See,
Yeah.
here's the thing: I can't drive a stick, and in Portugal, everything's a fucking stick. And I just, again,
Yeah.
the multitasking, I just can't
Yeah.
get it. I just So we're like, okay, you need an automatic, but there it's more expensive. So it's like, do we just have one, get one here and ship it over there?
Mhm.
So I'm like, I need a rig. Like when we're there, I'm gonna be fucking going. And I think now's the time for me to get the truck when we're there. I just think it fits the style. So we're like, if we keep the Tacoma, which is an automatic, we can rig it up here and then just ship it over there when we're ready to like,
Yep.
have that rig there. And before that, I now have a Toyota Matrix. We're Toyota girls. Love it.
Nothing wrong with
Um, Nothing wrong, Toyota or Chevy, but like we love Toyotas. I had a RAV4 that was my grandmom's, and before that was totaled, I was like, this year I'm gonna make a little like camping, setup and do a little an inside build of a little stove and a little closet and whatever. And then of course it got taken away from me, and I was like, fuck, now I'm in a Matrix, and I'm just like, doesn't do it. I'm in a little car again. But I love rigs. I love rigs of all sizes.
Oh, yeah.
There's neat. I mean, the minivans. Soraya laughs. I'm like, when we have 3 kids, we're getting a minivan, and she's like, I'd rather die. And I said, you'd be surprised at how much space we can fit all fucking 15 dogs, all of our kids, all of our
Yep.
shit in a minivan,
Yeah.
and gas is still affordable. Everyone's got room. I was like, we're having a mom van. It's like I have no shame. So you can rig them. You can rig a minivan to do some pretty cool shit, and even if you lift it
Yeah.
just a little bit.
You can't.
Like,
I
don't
would
sleep on it.
I would say this. I had a minivan for a short while, and the way I got this minivan sucked. My wife had she had an old Jeep Cherokee, right? My wife has a terrible track record with vehicles, horrible.
Mine too. Mine
And
too.
yeah, and she had bought this Jeep and had driven it for about like a year or so, and we had she had she was living with me and really wasn't driving a whole lot. I was driving actually the cousin to the Toyota Matrix, the Pontiac Vibe.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
it's basically the same car, just branded for GM. Um,
Right.
Same everything, and that car was amazing. That was my first like ever like Toyota product. And that motor was out of this world. It was such a good vehicle. I replaced the engine when it was time.
Yep.
Yeah, it was that worth it. It was good.
Yep.
And for a guy who was like, I was lugging around a 4 or 5 piece drum kit to different clubs or different rehearsal areas or something like that. That's really all I needed to do. I wasn't DJing at that point. So my wife was like, second baby's on the way. We need we need a minivan. I'm like, no, we don't. We don't need a minivan. What are you talking about? I was like, we have a station wagon and we have an SUV. I'm like, we don't need a minivan. And I don't know what the issue was, but for one reason or another, my wife couldn't get her Jeep to pass inspection. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
It didn't make any sense. It ran great. I mean, the thing was awesome. I love taking the thing out and doing my thing. I don't really love Jeep in general. But I really enjoy driving that. And the few times I would take that out, like I remember this one spot out in what we would call like the foothills of Western Massachusetts. There, I was playing a gig up at it was called the Lake House in Ashfield. And it was a beautiful little restaurant, real like country kind of place. I was playing in a blues band back then. And I was hauling my drums up there and it was snowing. It was bad. So I'm like, I'm going to take the Jeep. So I go and I take that and I'm like, this thing is great. This is awesome. So she ends up like trading it for and getting into a minivan. A what was it? Was it a caravan? I think it was a caravan.
A Dodge Caravan.
Dodge Caravan. And it
That's
was
what we
like
had.
the year, it looked like a goddamn bubble. Like it was so round.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God, it was the worst. So
I love that thing.
I told her, I was like, why? Like it was the first thing that she looked at and she was like, that's it, we're sold. And there were things about it in the lot that they needed to fix. Like it had a big scratch all along like the passenger side. And
Yep.
they're like, yeah, we're going to fill that. We're going to fix that. It'll be fine. That shit never happened. Like I will never like, I mean, she bought a brand new vehicle for her car this time.
Yeah.
And even before that, like she had a Buick Enclave. And my oldest now drives that. And so she got
Ayo.
lucky with that used deal. Like, she really did.
Yeah.
That was a car that she did pretty well with, and she managed to take much better care of it. But what ended up happening with this fucking van was she basically adopted my vibe, and I went and was driving around in this stupid van. I remember we went to Maine on vacation, and the power windows
Oh.
like were just
Lock up.
go. Yeah. And they would just, on the passenger side, it was just like, and it was one of these things where like it would work kind of sometimes.
Mhm.
And I'm like, do I want to replace this or what? And she on the trip had made the stupid decision to like put the window down like 3/4 of the way down, and it wouldn't go back up for the rest of the ride. And we were coming home in like torrential rain, and like rain was coming in sideways to we're like, and I can remember her in the parking in the passenger seat just having water like shooting in at her. I'm like, and I'm yelling at her. I'm like, you fucking idiot. Can't believe you put the window down. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Did you forget that it doesn't work? Ours did the
Exactly.
exact same thing. My dad would have to go to the side. My mom would push the button, and he'd be holding the
Pulling it
top
up.
of the window.
Yep.
And it's
I
like,
used to go open the door, and what I would do is I put my hand on the outside of it, right, and push up
pressure.
like that. And it was worst.
Our air went too.
Yeah, that's why we
The
needed the
amount of
all the
Freon
time.
that we had to buy. Oh my God, I'd be on the back dying. Like, Dad.
It was the worst. I can remember there being one time, and this is like, I get why she made the decision because when I started to work as a DJ again, and I was doing trivia nights multiple nights a week, like my rig it lived in the van. It was all
Yeah.
secure and everything was all set. But like I would go and I would leave my job at the station. I'd come home and I would, be home for a few hours. I'd be out and I'd be doing a game show. And then I'd come back home. And it was like, it was just in and out of that van. It was the worst. So it got to the point where I was like, this thing has to go because I was getting a lot of events. Like I remember I got a booking for a wedding on Martha's Vineyard, and it was a 3-day event. And I'm like, okay, I don't know that this van is going to make it. So at this point, I was making stupid money,
Yeah.
stupid money, and I'm like, I'm going to rent something to go and do this trip with because I have to get on a ferry and everything. So it's like, I'm not going to get like a U-Haul. I don't know that I can get that on there. So I went and I
Right.
rented like a Ford Connect or something like that. And it,
Mhm.
it worked great. It was awesome. And I was actually at this point, I was really looking into getting a pickup because I was like, I'm thinking about doing everything with a trailer. And then I did this one wedding in Boston where if I had a trailer, I don't know how this would have ended up. I would have needed to find 2 different parking spaces all over the city, a place to put the trailer and then a place to put the truck. And then I'd have to play games of going to get each another. I'm like, that's not going to work. So I need something that's everything is included. This is why I drive an SUV. I had somebody
Yeah.
recently was just like, oh, when Bobby decides to upgrade from his 4Runner and get, a pickup. And I'm like,
Fuck
that's
you.
not going to happen until I ditch my business because I will. I'll do a Tundra with like one of
Yeah.
those 4-wheel camper like caps that Becca's got.
Yeah.
My
Mhm.
God.
That thing is luxury she has. Oh my God. Yeah, I watched her video. I was like, damn.
Did you see the one in New York?
Yes.
She started that fire in her oven?
I was like, fuck
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. I got a text from her and she was like,
Okay.
bro, you can't make this shit up. And it was her like recording the viewfinder of her camera. And all I saw was I didn't hear any of the audio. I just saw her. She walks away. There was fire. She's like, oh my God. She grabs the fire extinguisher and goes with it. I was like, dude, you handled that like a champ. Oh my God. Then I watched the video and I was high as fuck when I watched that video. And the emotions that came over me, I was like, oh my God. I was like,
Yeah.
I didn't know that Sky was in the bed in the corner, like away from
Oh.
like, oh
Oh.
my God. It could have ended so badly. And she handled herself
Mhm.
like a champ. So
Yeah.
Becca is badass.
Round of applause for Becca,
Yeah.
please. She deserves it.
Oh,
Yeah, Soraya's, I was like, I'm having a fire, like a wood stove in my bus. My dad was like, no, you're
yep.
not. And I was like, it's my budget, it's my bus, whatever.
Mhm.
So I bought it. And then Soraya's like, you're not having that. And I'm like, yeah, we are. Miss Freezing cold all the fucking time.
Oh, yeah. You're
Fuck
going to need it.
you. I was
You're gonna
like,
need it.
we need it. And I was, especially if we're going, like, it's not negotiable. I
Yeah.
said, we're doing it. I was like, I love you. I know that we're doing this together and it's ours now, but I'm fucking putting that in my rig.
Yeah.
Like, it's happening. I was like, we'll be as safe as possible. Like things are gonna happen regardless.
Oh,
Like,
yeah. It's
but it's
just
a necessity.
exactly. And I mean, I'll be honest with you, like using wood, if you have a good stove, that's a really fucking safe option. To be
Yeah,
perfectly
yeah.
honest, man. As
The
long as you have a
pieces,
really good show,
yeah, nothing bigger than this goes in that. nothing bigger than this.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
size
yeah.
of your phone. And like it's this smaller than my laptop,
And it's
the
contained.
stove.
You don't have to worry about hoses or anything like that. And that's what
Right.
happened to Becca was the hose that fucked everything up. Um,
Hmm.
there's is it Lone Wolf? I think his channel's Lone Wolf. I think he's from Canada.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
you know who I'm
I know
talking?
I know what you're talking about. Yep.
He's fucking
Super guy.
awesome. He's
Yeah.
got like face tattoos and shit like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, we're thinking
Yeah,
of the
I
same
know what you're
guy.
talking about. Yep.
Yep. He has a wood stove in his Ram pickup.
Yeah.
Baller.
People are crazy.
Amazing.
It's so cool. Yep.
I would
I
do it in a
can't wait.
second. Yep.
I said the number one thing when I like think about traveling in my bus is
Yep.
literally starting the wood stove and just hearing the crackle and seeing the little flames on the glass and just being somewhere cozy. Like I mean I want to do everything in it, but like that's the
Yeah.
number one thing. I'm like I can't wait to fucking like I love fire. I'm like I can't wait to light this fucking fire and get it going. I told her I was like I said I'm the morning person, not really, but like when we're traveling I
Out
am.
of the two
I'm
of you.
gonna get up, let the dog out, like make you coffee, start the wood stove while you're still snuggled in bed. Like it's gonna be amazing. She's like, I'll cook dinner. I'm like, yeah, you fucking will. Cause
Yeah,
by
you
that point,
will.
I'm fried. By that point, all the adventures and shit that I'm doing, I'm like, yeah, you're
I
cooking
love
dinner.
that shit.
But I'm like, you're gonna love it when you don't have to get out of bed. You're reading your book all fucking day, and I'm just bringing you coffee and food, and
Oh,
you're
yeah.
nice next to the little wood stove. You're not gonna complain at fucking all.
You know what that wood stove is going to be amazing for? So you'll make the coffee, everything's going to be good. Get yourself some nice like earthenware like coffee mugs. Just pop those bitches right on top of that stove. Your coffee will
Yep.
stay perfectly warm.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Nice and
Yeah.
toasty.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can put a kettle on there. I was like, baby.
Oh
I'm
man.
like, you have to. I'm like, you have to. I'm going for a rustic, like kind of log cabin vibe anyway.
Yeah.
It's a must. It's a
I
must. Don't
I
tell me
took
that I'm not.
I took Queen Beef out to Vermont camping in early November. And this is her first outing camping with me. It was cold. You know, it was
Yeah.
cold. My thought process at the time was like, I want to bring her out when there's not going to be a single mosquito around because
Yeah.
that's going to turn her off more than anything. Like if
Hmm.
she could fall in love with the idea of camp, and she actually had a really, really good time. Like you ask her now, and she's going to try to play it all cool, like, oh, it was freezing, it was terrible, blah 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 blah. Your boy went out, and you know our tent it's a summer tent. It's like a 3-season tent, really at
Yeah.
best. She made a couple of judgment calls for her sleep system that did not work out the way she planned.
Hmm.
The little dog decided to, steal all the blankets from her, which kind of sucked. But I went out like we've remedied some of that. So like I went out and I picked up these just cheap wool blankets to put down on top of the cot to form an insulating barrier. And then I have
Hmm.
these summer sleeping bags, but I got them because they're wide enough to fit in the Forerunner runner. I
Yeah.
bought a second one recently just for her, just to drape over the cot when we're in the tent. This way
Hmm.
she has a surface because it's really slick. It's almost like silk. So
Yeah.
it doesn't grab if you're wearing like a base layer or anything and you're not pulling a blanket anywhere. You can glide right across it. So I'm like,
Yep.
it'll stay in place. You'll be comfortable under whatever blanket or sleeping bag, whatever it is that you want to utilize, and you'll be good to go. So
Hmm.
I think it'll be pretty freaking awesome. But
You can also so they sell like those emergency bivvies, which is like a
yep.
mylar sleeping bag sleeve. Freaking
Yeah,
get one of those for her and just put her in that. She'll be warm all fucking night.
there was I'm gonna overshare here a little bit. Last February, I
Hmm.
was it was during the Springfield Sportsman Show. Becca had come down and was like, screw it, let's camp at the Big E. Let's
Yeah.
camp at the Sportsman Show. It'll be awesome. I'm like, okay, cool. And it was gonna be 7 degrees. Now, at the time, this was
Wow.
old build, like, and I don't like one of the things I had picked up this year for in the tent was a buddy heater. Not ideal because of the condensation, because propane heat is a very moist heat.
It
Uh,
is.
but it'll do the job, and it worked great in our tent. It really did. It kind of saved the day. I don't love the idea of running it and then falling asleep, so it's like somebody's got to be up, which sucks. But when I got up in the morning, I kicked it on for my wife, and she slept for another 2 or 3 hours and was just like, it was the best sleep I had all night. I was like, well, good, I'm glad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I had picked one of these up, and this was we had gone out, and I really wasn't prepared to camp in this. I had my summer bag. I was wearing a base layer, so I would have been
Oh man.
completely comfortable in that sense.
Mhm.
It was just one of these things, and I was like, Becca, I don't know if I can do this. I'm like, especially because we were going to camp in my town. Like I
Right,
could
right.
go and sleep in my bed with my dog and be good to go and
Mhm.
nice and fresh for the next and the last day of the sportsman show. And she's
Right.
like, dude, let's just call it because 7 degrees is a bit much. I'm gonna go ahead and send it because I need a video. She's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
but I don't blame you at all. Regret. I regret doing that. I
Oh,
really wish I would have tested my limits.
dude, I wanna do like hot tent camping, like in below what like I wanna go out there with a little pup tent and
Yep.
a sled with my little
Wood
pocket
stove.
like stove that like comes up out of nothing.
Yep.
I wanna do it all. I just
Yeah.
I get
I love that
excited and then
idea.
dude, put a hole in the ice, do some ice fishing. Like,
And that's something that I would do as well. Like, but if I do it, I want to do it the right way. Speaking of ice fishing, have you seen the reel with this new net for ice fishing?
no.
It's the coolest thing I've ever seen. I think it's
What is it?
probably
Now I
like
gotta look it
3
up.
feet long. And basically what it does, the hoop of the net goes vertical. And there's like a
Okay.
trigger mechanism at the top that you grip. And you basically slide the essentially the pole that would be on the net down under
Right.
the bottom of the ice. And it's marked to like measure the thickness of the ice and all kinds of shit. It's like really well thought out. But you pull that trigger mechanism and it takes the hoop and it just opens it up. And it's a small hoop.
That's cool. Yeah.
It's slick. I was like, holy
That's
shit,
cool.
that's awesome. I think where is it? There's somebody having an expo like right now, like maybe last
Oh, of
week.
course.
And it was like I
Yeah.
it was like in Wisconsin or something, but like it's
Yep.
the thing, just looks awesome. I'm like, what a amazing feat of engineering.
Yeah, I love pieces of kit that are just smart and like
Yeah.
effective and that work. I just love when people I mean, I love it. I love gear. I love customizing shit. I love when people are like, okay, here's an issue
Yep.
and like let's solve it and they knock it out of the fucking park. I just love
That
it.
I
I just
think
everything
it's
about it. It is. What's your okay, so like I know you said cooking like is your favorite. Like what's your favorite piece of gear
my
when you're
favorite
camping?
piece of gear.
Yeah, like your favorite
Man.
piece. Every time you pull it out, you're like
It's like almost signature. I'll be honest with you. It's my coffee pot. Actually,
fuck
scratch
yes, it
that.
is.
Scratch that. It's not even the coffee pot because it's just an old percolator, is what it is. I
Oh
love it. It's
yeah.
old school. I love it. It's my coffee grinder.
Electric,
Yeah.
like oh,
It's like
great.
it's nothing special. I was doing an event, a fundraiser where there was a raffle, and there was a couple of things that were interesting. So I mean, anytime I do something where there's a raffle, I buy raffle tickets, and I happened to get lucky and win this. And there were two. There's a local coffee roaster that I'm huge into. They're called Monsoon Roastery. The
Okay.
Some of the best coffee beans I've ever had in my life, just absolutely out of this world.
Sweet.
And I had it was like a couple of cans of their stuff, and there was a grinder. It was like an Amazon Basics grinder, and there's nothing
Right.
crazy. Back of my Forerunner though has a 110 plug, good for like 400 watts. So I'm like,
Yeah.
and I usually use this to charge my Nocqua batteries up for my kayak between
Yep.
trips. So like when I need a charge, I'll take the battery off, I'll set it up back there, and then every time I take a ride out, I'll just hit that switch, it'll charge on the ride. And it works out
Perfect.
great. It's so nice. In fact, I think I'm going to buy another Nocqua battery so I can just keep one in the back and then just rotate them whenever they need to be charged.
Smart man.
Never
There you
back.
go.
Yeah, I think that'll be the way to do it. So I go and I take this and I hook up my grinder and I freaking grind fresh beans. And I was never a believer in that until we started grinding our fresh beans, and I was like, what
Yeah.
a difference. So
Yep.
big fan,
Hmm.
big fan.
Dude.
Love that.
I mean, right now I'm having French vanilla that my wife got me. I like the blueberry. I like to dabble in different flavors of coffee.
Yep.
Blueberry is really good
Fair
in the
enough.
winter. But like our coffee setup for the bus, I was like, we have this Portuguese like it's almost like an espresso, but better.
Oh,
It's a Delta Q. I'm like, we're bringing that. I was like, I never like accounted. I mean, I figured we'd have coffee, but I was like, this espresso fucking machine is incredible. I was
yeah.
like, it has to come. I don't know how. I'm just gonna have to throw it in there and make it work. Like, I love coffee. I like tea too.
No.
There's something about the smell of coffee that just hits just hits the nostalgia button and like it
Oh,
revives your soul. Yeah,
that
even a shitty cup of coffee in the woods in the morning, it could be black for all
that
you
much
care.
better. Yeah,
Oh,
exactly. I
so
agree.
good.
I
Yep.
agree. Yeah,
It's a morale boost.
it's for sure coffee for me because like there's so many ways that I can make coffee. Like so many different ways that I can make coffee. Uh,
Yeah.
and actually, it's kind of interesting. I've been toying around. This something to be said about this Stanley Gang shit. Stanley makes a
Yeah.
French press now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm
I
thinking
thought about it.
add it. I'm thinking I might add it. I love French press coffee. It's freaking awesome.
I have a glass French press, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna gamble with that in the bus,
That's
so
what I'm
I'm
afraid of.
probably gonna go to a stainless
Yep.
steel, and then I'm like, okay, who's got it? What size is it? You also have to figure out, okay, what size is it? What
Yep.
can I like? How do you
Oh
incorporate
yeah.
that in the one drawer that we have for
Yeah.
all these things?
Oh,
But
absolutely.
and then also you could use it on a fire, and I'm all about you have to have multifunctions in
You do.
everything that you do,
100%.
especially like my survival brain or just like my everyday, like
Yep.
everything has to have multiple uses or else it's got to go.
So
It's got to fucking go.
you dabble in a little bit of the survival side of things.
hmm
You have a bag or a pouch you keep in your vehicle.
I have a so I
What are you rocking with for your rig?
last year I made me and Soraya build a water bottle survival kit.
Yep.
I wish it was right there because I'd grab it right now, but it was a $20 stainless steel bottle and then it has a nesting cup in it, so it's got like a cook situation. I
Uh-huh.
got a good solid knife for it, and then everything that you could possibly need is like stuffed on the inside of that thing. And I said, wherever we fucking go, you take this, period. And then in the new kayak, I'm making pretty much the same thing, but in a dry bag because I have one of those like compartments for your keys and shit. I was like,
Yeah.
that is going to be like my survival. Like it'll always just be in there ready to go. I'm never taking it out. But no, I always make sure that there's something. Like I just got, dude. So I am making a kayak trailer for the bike. I got
Yep.
one of those kids trailers. It's like a $200 trailer for I
Oh
got it
yeah.
for
Yep.
$25 on Facebook Marketplace.
Holy shit.
And
This
I
is
was like, dude, it's brand new.
holy
It's been
shit.
used like once. I'm looking at it right now. I made Soraya put it together last night. It's in our kitchen, and I was like, babe, this thing is $200 right now online, and it's like they might have used it once because we
For
live in a
sure.
ghetto but bougie area at the same time. So I'm
Oh,
sure they're
I
like,
hear
let's
you.
go biking, and
Yep.
then used it
They never do
once,
it again. Yeah.
and then was like, we'll sell it for 25. And I was like, babe, you have to go get this while I'm at work, and I am like, I'm gonna rig this thing out to the T.
Oh
Like
yeah.
I'm gonna put a whole Molly pouch, like a whole Molly plate on the
Yeah.
back,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
it's gonna have all of its pouches. But I always make sure to have something on us. Like my episode coming up this week is about like EDC stuff, so like
Yep.
everything that
I
you carry
love
every
this.
day. I get into it, and then I did one on like the 5 C's of survival, and then like
Yep.
how you can incorporate that. I am always trying to think ahead,
Ellie,
even
you
on the
and I
boat.
are cut from the same cloth because I
We
am
are.
EDC nerd like you wouldn't believe.
I just got into it this year and I
Oh
made like a
yeah.
small little EDC. I love it, man. And I'm like, it's just, I use everything every day. I use all of the shit every single day. It's like, and I love it. I love tinkering. Dude, one day when I have the money, I'm going
Huh?
to do like every color EDC. Like I am going to just go through and build
Oh
like a
yeah.
red one, an
Yeah.
orange one.
That's
I'm so
right.
excited.
That's right. I
Yeah.
forgot. I saw one of your videos where you did like a survival bag, but it was color coded, like all
Always.
the
Oh,
stuff. Genius.
my urban bug out bag, it's all
Yes.
yellow. hmm
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
dude, that I
brilliant.
built that because we got stuck in a situation where it was a really bad thunderstorm came in Newark and we were flooded in the apartment
Uh-huh.
and we couldn't leave and we had no power. And I was like, this is the last straw because it's happened to me and my dad. We'll go to the cabin. It was like February, it's freezing cold, the electricity didn't work. So we used like my camping stuff to like heat up a can of soup and
Yeah.
get us through the night, like while we're bundled up. I was like, it's too many times that it's happened. People don't think about those urban situations enough. So I immediately was like, I'm making this fucking kit and it
Yeah.
stays in the car and I always have it. And I was like, you're getting one and I'm getting one. Mine will be yellow, whatever. And like the shit that goes in there is specifically for that. And I know,
Yeah.
like, okay, if I use this, I got to replenish it. And like, it's just so smart. And
Yeah.
it's like, it's the little things that you need to do in life just to be prepared. That's
Yep.
all.
It's
A water
funny.
bottle, it's a water bottle size survival kit or prepared kit
Yeah.
can make the difference between life and death. Something that fits in a cargo pocket in a
Yep.
tin.
Yeah.
Like, just, it's a few basic things that
It's
you
wild.
yeah,
It's
we
so,
are.
it's so funny. I started messing around with EDC like probably like 2018, 2019, like really kind of paying attention to what it was. And I
Yeah.
started to like try to like, everybody thinks the same thing. Oh, everyday carry, wallet, keys, phone. Well, how effective is your wallet? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But what about your keys? Like, because there's other things you can do to your keys as well to kind of streamline. Let me show you where I'm at now. Wallet, and keys, phone. Check this shit out.
Please.
This
Please,
is
please,
geeky.
please.
So this
None of
is.
my shit is right here.
Have you ever heard of alpaca before?
Yes. Oh my
Okay.
God, I have. I haven't
Alpaca's
splurged yet. I
So
haven't
this is
splurged yet.
they make this little pouch right here, and I use this as my wallet. It's got waterproof zippers, right? So
Mhm.
it's great when I'm in the kayak or something like that. Like I keep some cash in here, I can keep a bunch of cards in here. It zips up and it's waterproof, which is great. There's a front pocket right here, right?
Yep.
Now I'm gonna show you the fucking jam. My wife's aunt gave this to me as a Christmas gift
Mm-hmm.
years ago, like years and years and years ago. Can I access it? It's not the easiest thing to get a hold of.
No, it never
Oh,
is.
there it
But
is.
it's like the favorite piece.
I wouldn't say necessarily it's the favorite piece, but
Favorite, but
I would tell you that I would be a goddamn liar if I didn't admit that this thing came in clutch. This multi
yes.
is
Yeah.
amazing. Like
Mhm.
little tiny screwdrivers. It's got little like this right here is like it's almost like a wrench set. Like these are all
Yeah.
so you can turn
Oh
nuts.
yeah, they're integrated.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. There's a bottle opener. You've got an awl. I've used this little edge here to open so many envelopes and open packages. And I use this when I don't, or like if I'm an idiot and I don't have my Leatherman on me. I'm a Leatherman guy, you know?
Yeah.
I
All
find
right,
like,
all right,
go
go
for
ahead. I'm gonna go get my thing. It's like right over there. Just
it.
talk about the
Go ahead.
Leatherman. Go.
You got it.
Be right back.
See, we're geeks. That's what's happening. We're totally geeking out.
Okay, guys, so as I get up to get my EDC equipment, we are going to end the first part of this conversation here. So, this is going to be part one to a two-part interview with the one and only Bobby Roast Beef from Jigs and Bigs. We had a incredible time sitting down and just talking, if you guys haven't noticed from the first part of this episode. So, we kept going naturally and we got into a lot more really awesome topics. We talk about the EDC pouches and those equipments. We talked to Bobby about what it's like being married, being a father to two girls, what it's like taking them out in the outdoors and going on trips with them. We really dig in and talk to him about a whole lot more. So make sure you guys go ahead and check out not only part one, but part two as well of our conversation. Bobby, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I really, really appreciate it, dude. And for now, thank you guys for listening, and I will see you in the next adventure.